Now I'd like to introduce Doug Young, owner of Spruce Haven Farm. Doug's been doing a tremendous amount of work on this project ever since I started talking to him about it. I've learned more and more in the places that he's traveled to try to bring this to fruition. So Doug Young from Spruce Haven Farm.
Thank you, Chairman Tortorisi. It's been a pleasure working with you, and thank you, fellow legislators. We appreciate your interest in this for 5, 6, 7 years, and it's really a privilege to have this opportunity to share the vision that we've been developing. I was asked to give a little bit of a history on the development of this process. Just do that. Okay. Thank you. There's a fellow who has a dairy farm in the southern part of the county, Dennis Eldred, and he has extraordinary intuitions. He's a friend of ours, and 15 years ago he asked the question, we have an issue. He said, what are we going to do to solve the environmental concerns? So he said, I'll put $100,000 on the table. Let's form a company and figure out how we're going to address this situation. Lynn Odell is over here. He runs Willett Dairy now. So it's been a 15-year journey, really, to get to this point. The search that we embarked on led us to Denmark. Denmark is a country who made a national commitment 22 years ago, to try to address the situation from a holistic point of view. Here's a picture of Denmark. You can see the various digesters that they've installed. They had a set of incentives. They provided about 30% of the funding and set a return on the electric price to ensure a decent return. One of the digesters that I visited on 2 occasions, Kurt Gooch has been there as well, from Cornell, is this one. It's a Lintrip. It's very much the idea of what we've done came from this plant. This one, there are 60 farms who bring their manure to the plant where it's digested, and then the digested liquids go back out to the farms. Then they take the excess biogas, transport it through a pipeline about 7 miles to a nearby town where they convert it into electricity and heat. So we tried to figure out how could we apply this concept, which is very clearly proven to be effective technically, and how do we implement it in Cayuga County so that it makes sense to address all of our concerns. So this is where it has led to. This slide is a depiction of the United States dairy industry's very aggressive stand on trying to reduce our environmental footprint with a focus on carbon. So this is the result of a national, or a 2-year effort by the U.S. dairy industry to figure out how are we going to reduce the carbon footprint of the dairy industry. You can see on the left is the carbon that's produced from the crop production side of the business, and then from the milk production side is the second bar, and then from there on is the processing, packaging, etc. This slide tells several stories. 75% of the carbon footprint in the whole manufacturing and chain comes at the farm. So the U.S. dairy industry set a goal to reduce our carbon footprint substantially, 25%. You can see the targets set at each stage of the farm production. And then there's specific projects listed under the bar of how we're going to accomplish this goal. This proactive approach to addressing our industry caught the attention of the United States Department of Agriculture. And in Copenhagen, the Secretary Vilsack announced a memorandum of understanding between the U.S. Department of Agriculture and the U.S. dairy industry. Many of the goals that the dairy industry had set were very much in line with the principles that the USDA had identified. Now, in a lot of the business models that we've used to prepare this concept, Kurt Gooch is sitting here from Cornell University. We've traveled together to Europe several times. But we used our farm, Spruce Haven Farm, as the example of exactly how much biogas will we produce per farm. This slide is intended to show you the importance of bringing in food residuals. You can see the cubic feet per day of biogas that's produced if you only digest cow manure, and what gas production would be produced if you brought in 20% of food waste. So it's a substantial increase. So as we discuss this project, the uncertainty that remains is largely due to the quantity and the quality of food waste that we have access to. I want everyone to understand that important principle. Now this is Cayuga Renewable Energy LLC. It's owned by farmers, 50%, and developers, 50%. O'Hara Farms and Spruce Haven are the farm owners. Kurt Gooch has a small interest. And the developers from Long Island, primarily, who have worked on this for lots of years without any payment, they have expressed a willingness to sell their portion to other farmers so that it could be a farmer group. Another company that we've identified as the vendor would be Quasar. It's a European technology, a German technology, and they've agreed to invest in the digesters at the farms. This is a picture of a Quasar digester in Worcester, Ohio, at Ohio State University. This is the digester that O'Hara's and Spruce Haven have selected. A few slides here showing the other farms in Cayuga County that have digesters. This is Patterson's. Dan and Connie are back here. They've learned lots of hard lessons. They've been very open to share those lessons with us. Sunnyside has a digester up in Venice. This is Aurora Ridge. Bill Cook. I don't think Bill's here tonight. Bill is the chairman of Cayuga Marketing. He's a very strong leader for the dairy industry. And then Tom Roach, Diane's here. Tom had to stay home. Thanks for coming, Diane. So the idea would be to collect the excess biogas from the various farms, approximately 18,000 cows, and it would at $8 a million BTU or decatherm, it's worth about $6 million per year. This is with the assumption of the substrate that I just shared with you, 20% substrate or food waste. So the bottom line is Cayuga County has an opportunity to establish a model for sustainable farming in rural communities in the U.S. and the world. Renewable energy must be developed as a matter of national security. There are risks in the many evolving aspects of such a project, the largest one being food residuals. And the potential benefits outweigh the risks, in my view, particularly if USDA provides loan guarantees to mitigate the risk that the county would not have to bear. And they have told me that they are willing to do that. The Secretary of Agriculture appointed a person to lead this effort, and he has told me that this project has the Secretary's ear and they're committed to help bring this to fruition. There's a number of endorsements. I have a packet I can share with the legislators. You can take home with you if you like.
Yeah, I got it. I think. Okay,
good. Congressman Arcuri, Senator Nozzolio, both have been strong advocates of this for years. Nestle Foods. There's a letter in your packet from Hans Ure. He's the corporate head of agriculture for Nestle. And he's also the founder and was the longtime president of Sustainable Ag Initiative. It's a collection of the largest food companies in the world. Includes Nestle and Unilever and Dannon and Pepsi-Cola and Coca-Cola and General Foods and Kellogg's, Kraft, a lot of the big food companies. And I had a chance to meet him in Washington. Realized that the food companies had the exact same mission that a bunch of farmers in Cayuga County had, and it was heartening to hear that we're on the same page. So I asked Hans if it would be appropriate for Cayuga Marketing to become a member of Sci Platform, and he says absolutely. So Kurt and I went to Geneva, Switzerland, to their General Assembly meeting, and Cuba Marketing became members. Hans, by chance or by providence, the next week was going to be visiting Cornell University. So I said, Hans, would you like to see some farms? And he said, sure, I'd love to. So spent the whole day with Hans showing him farms, meeting the people, and showed him the map that's now in the back of the room. And he made the statement at the end that this is the largest and most comprehensive approach to agricultural sustainability anywhere in the world. So given that feedback from someone who travels the world and has relationships with 800,000 farmers around the world, I said, well, that's a good sign. So I asked him to write a letter, and that's included in your packet. So I appreciate the time. I hope I haven't gone over, but I'd be glad to answer questions. It's a real joy for me personally to look around the room and see all the people that have worked diligently on this, put their heart in it, encouraged me, and I want the Lord's will to be done in this. So thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.